I definitely do think that President Cyril Ramaphosa should entirely scrap the quota system so that people can be hired in terms of merits and not the color of their skin.
Good governance with increased accountability, definitely economic growth, and I'd like to see an alleviation in poverty, especially in areas that have seen little change since 1994.
I would like President Cyril Ramaphosa to really put the interests of the masses above the interests of his own party and really just stick. Corruption is always a big and a massive issue, but really stick to getting the people what they want and giving the people the country and the future that they deserve.
The land must be divided just equally because it has a very big impact on our economy. Yeah. So with the amendment, he needs to be careful with that because nitty-gritty details.
I'd like him to at least address the current health and social affairs of South Africa that can be changed without drastic laws being changed or implementation of those laws. Like, for example, sanitary towels not being taxed, and also not even where females don't have to pay for it, because these type of initiatives are being initiated by NPOs, and such things should be actually initiated by our South African government.
I'd like for him to review national, provincial and local legislation in terms of the powers that are conferred to municipalities, because we're faced with a huge epidemic or situation where municipalities have powers to run. However, it's in national where it can actually be done.
Well, joining us on the line is Sifiso Mtsweni, the Executive Chairperson from the National Youth Development Agency. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. Essentially, is the NYDA happy with some of the provinces of the President that has been made in his speech yesterday? And what essentially are you expecting from the new President, which should be different from predecessors?
Well, good afternoon to you and the viewers. Indeed, we are very happy. I think one of the things that we want to say is that we've demonstrated as South Africans that our democracy is very strong. We now have the 5th democratically elected president 25 years into our democracy, which simply demonstrates that South Africa is one of the strongest democracies, not only in the continent but in the world. Now, you'd remember that one of the things that we've continuously said is that young people in this country have not really benefited so much out of our democracy. When we talk about unemployment, you talk about something that affects young people. When we talk about poverty, something that affects young people. Many young people have gone to school, they've got skills, but today they're sitting at home with a degree. So we're very happy with the posture that the President has taken. The President has been quite emphatic on the need to include young people in decision-making bodies, but also the issue that we've raised quite a long time, that experience has to be removed as an entry-level requirement, particularly for entry-level jobs. That's one thing that the President has actually spoken about quite emphatically. So we're very happy, but we really look forward to the President ensuring that we deal decisively with unemployment in this country, we deal decisively with poverty, and that young people must really enjoy the benefits of our democracy.
Now, we also know the President is set to announce a new cabinet tomorrow. What essentially would be an ideal cabinet structure for the NYDA in terms of age and gender, and of course some of the propositions that the NYDA would like to see going forward?
Well, I think taking cue from Parliament, it was quite a beautiful scene this week, seeing a lot of members of Parliament being sworn in, the benches of the African National Congress itself having a lot of young people, with the youngest MP being at the age of 21. That is quite encouraging because that is in line with the demographics of our country. And one of the things that we're now saying is that the cabinet of President Cyril Ramaphosa must have at least 20% of young people in that particular cabinet. And of course, the women's struggle is something that we've always supported as NYDA. 50% of that particular cabinet must be women. But we really want to say that we need young people to inject energy. We need young people that will be able to drive policy in this country and ensure that we move service delivery at a faster pace. Because normally when you are a bit too old, it takes time. Decisions are taken, but service delivery tends to take time. So our expectation tomorrow is that there must be young people in that particular cabinet. We must drive strategic departments. As you know, we're in the era of fourth industrial revolution. The communications department must be able to have young people. The economic cluster, when you talk about economic development, small business development, those are areas that young people have got a direct interest in. would like to see young people playing a role there. The issue of education, basic and higher education, we welcome the many advances that government has made. The introduction of free education from basic level all the way to tertiary level. We would also like to see the likes of Puti Manamela and others really being given additional responsibility to be able to drive the education landscape in our country and really take our country forward. So simply our expectation is that President Ramaphosa, in announcing his cabinet, he must include young people.
In terms of inclusion and participation, how are you going to assist the President in his move to alleviate poverty and youth unemployment?
Well, the NYDA has been playing a role in ensuring that we encourage young people to be entrepreneurs. We've got a very vibrant entrepreneurship model where young people actually come there with their business ideas. We give them training, we give them mentorship, but we also give them a grant funding. So what we don't do, we don't give young people loans, we actually encourage them to actually start and initiate businesses so that they are able to employ other young people. One of the things that also we are driving this is that South Africa is one of the few countries in the world that does not have a compulsory national youth service program. So one of the things that we really want to impress upon the President is that the time has come for us to really recruit young people into a national youth service program so that young people are able to be part of nation building, they are able to be patriotic citizens, and they are able to ensure that they participate, learn about our democracy, and be able to take it forward. So indeed, as you know, the NYDA exists in the presidency. We report directly to the President. So one of the things that we'll be doing is to work hand in hand with him to say these are some of the solutions. Another thing that we've raised for some time, you remember that there's been a job summit and an investment summit. Now, one of the things we've raised to business in this country is that we need to ensure that we support youth-owned cooperatives. For instance, there's a lot of hotels in our country. The linen that is supplied in those hotels, the curtains, and everything else. We're saying, here's youth-owned cooperatives that are actually producing linen. Let's start buying from them. Let's also include tariffs that will ensure that local retailers actually start buying locally. As you know, a lot of young people have got interest in designing, they've got a lot of interest in ensuring that they produce clothing and all of that. Let's make sure that those clothing of young people, the brands of young people, actually find space in our local retailers. So these are the things that we'll actually be raising with the President, working hand in hand. But one of the big issues that I've raised when we started this interview is that young people must start benefiting out of this democracy. And that's exactly what we'll be doing going forward.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. We'll leave it there.